What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Media Goose channel. It is I, the Media Goose, your friend Ryan, and the goose is loose, baby. I am here today with a review of one of my favorite shows. No, not one of. A review of my favorite show of all time, Daredevil. And specifically Daredevil Season 1 on Netflix. This show, when it came out, was so different than anything I had seen before. Prior to this, there really wasn't, besides the CW shows, which I don't have any experience with, comic book TV shows that I enjoyed. I also didn't really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It didn't feel consequential to the MCU, and they never really went out of their way to make it consequential to the MCU. But when this show got announced, I was excited because I love the character Daredevil. I was a kid when that Ben Affleck movie came out, so I loved it. And this is one of the rare characters I actually have read some of the comics for. And Foggy Nelson is one of my favorite characters. He's a character I really want to play at some point. Eldon Henson does an incredible job, but that doesn't mean I don't want to play it at some point. We have Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and it is as perfect a performance as you could hope for. It is generational casting. It is Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. levels of perfection. Charlie Cox nails every level of this character, Matt Murdock and Daredevil. And to get into the show now, the opening of this show is Matt's inciting incident, the moment his life is changed forever, when he pushes an old man out of the way of getting hit by a truck, and in turn gets poisonous chemicals spewed into his eyes and loses his eyesight. So he is blinded at an early age, and he ends up having a sensei who comes into his life and trains him to basically be a ninja. He says, yes, you're blind, but what does that mean for all of your other senses? And he helps Matt develop that. Before Stick came along, his mentor there, his father, when he went blind, Matt only lived with his dad. At that point, Matt didn't know who his mother was, and it was just them. His dad was a boxer battling Jack Murdock, and it's kind of, he's a typical Irish dad. It's got a very Cinderella Man feel to it, where he's that Irishman who is down on his luck, but he never gets knocked out, always loses on his feet, scrappy, blue collar. And you come to realize that his dad is maybe taken some losses for the mafia before, because the Irish mob comes to try to get him to throw a fight to make a lot of money. And it's a huge fight. It's with one of the biggest contenders in the world. And Matt, as a kid, ends up talking about how his dad could win that fight and what it would mean to see that. So his dad ends up putting all the money on him to win instead of throwing the fight, puts all the money he won in a account for Matt to keep him safe so that when he grows up, he'll have that money. And he wins the fight, and he ends up losing his life. And Matt ends up at a church as an orphan, and that's where his mentor Stick comes along and trains him. And then we jump to Matt as an adult. He is first day as a lawyer with his best friend Foggy as they get their law practice started. They left a much better, more well-funded position at a larger firm to go do things the right way, to do things the moral way. And Matt and Foggy are very much presented as two young guys doing it the right way and just having integrity in their actions. and they end up defending a woman named Karen Page. Karen Page is an iconic character in the Daredevil lore, played by Deborah Ann Wool, or Wolf? Deborah Ann Wool or Wolf? But she is incredible. We join her with blood in her hands and a body next to her being arrested, saying, "I didn't do this." And another character, the cop, um, Ben? No, it's Ben Urich. What is the cop's name? Oh, damn it. I should know this. Foggy brings cigars for the cop's mom in exchange for the cop just calling him if something happens. Brett. Yeah, it's Brett. Brett Mahoney? Brett ends up calling him to tell Foggy about Karen, and that's how their worlds come together. And as they're in the interrogation room, you get the reveal that Matt's heightened senses allow him to detect a person's heartbeat, and it serves as a compass of morality where Matt can tell if somebody's lying. They do a great job in this series showing you Matt Murdock's heightened senses. There's a lot of sequences. There's a sequence where he tails Wesley that is just breathtaking, where they show you the way he utilizes his senses. It's really excellent. And Wesley, speaking of Wesley, let's get into the villain of this show, the Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. And then he has a right-hand man named Wesley. And Wesley is one of my favorite characters in this season. He is the face that Wilson Fisk does not present. He is he's Metatron, the voice of God. For mortals cannot bear be in the company of the god. Wesley is just excellent. He has this complete and utter confidence and suaveness. It is just excellent to watch. And Kingpin. If you have only experienced MCU Kingpin and not Netflix Kingpin, you don't even know this character. Season 1, the time we spend with Wilson Fisk is what makes him horrifying, because we see every side of him. We see the child side of Wilson Fisk and the way he hasn't developed. And we see the monstrous side where he erupts in fury. We see him with Vanessa, where a new side of himself is discovered. We see his backstory as a child with his father, who was an abusive monster, and how he took his father's life to protect his mother. And they do things to humanize Wilson while also showing you how much of a monster he is. I feel as though the performance that Vincent D'Onofrio gives in season 1, but in the entire season 1, 2, and 3, he is one of the greatest villains ever performed in comic book history. It is up there with Heath Ledger's Joker. It is up there with Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, with Thanos. That is how good this character is. The scenes with Madame Gao, where you can see Wilson seething underneath the surface. And this Wilson at the beginning of the journey is almost like a furious child who doesn't know how to be a public figure yet. And now in Daredevil Born Again, we're seeing him as this total public figure. But this haunted, disturbed child that we meet at the beginning of this show is terrifying, and is what adds so much menace and presence to the character. Because, oh my god, he has the single most disturbing scene ever shot in a Marvel project, when he beheads a Russian with a Escalade door. It is disturbing, it is visceral and vicious and disgusting. The performance is horrifying. The screams he is letting out. Fisk, oh my God. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk in season 1 of Daredevil is just breathtaking. And watching him come into his own from that child who didn't know how to communicate and growing in to the character we see at the end of the season when he makes himself a public figure to take the power from Matt and Foggy and Karen and Ben Urich. Ben Urich, another fantastic character. Let me quickly just run off a bunch of the side characters that make this one of the best ensembles ever cast in any kind of project. This show isn't even really a superhero show. My lights just went out. That's hilarious. This show isn't even really a superhero show. It is a law drama. It is a crime drama. And the time that it takes to develop and the time that we spend with these characters, it builds out the world so effectively. We have Brett, the cop that I mentioned. We have Ben Urich, a older journalist who still tries to do things the right way, who ends up getting tied in with Karen and really serves as like a mentor for Karen. There's also Claire, the night nurse. Daredevil gets found in a trash can after he gets assaulted, and she stitches him up, played by Rosario Dawson. And the relationship between Claire and Matt is so damn good. The way that we see Vanessa and Fisk develop romantically, where it almost comes off as though Vanessa enjoys the kind of man that Wilson is, enjoys the edge, is almost aroused by that danger. Claire is not. Claire is the real everyday person who sees the real harm it would have on her life to be with somebody like Matt. And it is such a beautiful story between them. I love that they have this passion for each other, but they both know it can't happen. And it's bittersweet, but there are people like that in life, and they are both still there for each other. And Claire comes back in more seasons, and the scenes between them were always so tender. And then we also get the scenes with Karen and Matt, where they explore the romantic side of their relationship. And we have Foggy and Karen never really being into Foggy, and the feeling that Matt and Karen, are limited by Foggy. It's a really interesting dynamic to see developed in a really beautiful and honest way. What other characters am I not thinking of? Mrs. Cardenas, the tenant at the building that Fisk is trying to buy. She is kind of the heart of the whole season, and her death is what sends Matt into the most vicious stuff of Daredevil. We have Ellison, Ben Urich's boss. We have the woman that Ben talks to at the hospital about the insurance. Ben's wife. Turk on the docks, the hustler on the docks. The rabbit in the snowstorm scene with Vanessa and Fisk. This show is just excellent. The crime drama side of things with these like families, the Russians. Then there's Madame Gao and Nobu. Then there's Leland Owlsley. Then there's Fisk and Wesley, the crime drama, the law procedural side of things. And my favorite part of this show, after everything I've said, the best part of this show is the fight choreography and the fighting. It is visceral and real. You see that Matt learned from a boxer. That Matt, when he was listening while his father trained, was learning. And everything that he learned from Stick All of the fight sequences are breathtaking. There is a one-shot hallway fight in episode 2 where one of the things Matt is fighting is the trafficking of children and people. And he goes to save a child. And there is a one-shot hallway fight scene that is maybe my favorite scene ever put to film. This show so raised the level of fight choreography in all superhero content just from existing. The fight scene between Nobu and Matt. Oh my God, it's so good. Then Matt and Fisk's final showdown. Oh, that oneer in the hallway revolutionized fight combat in television. It was breathtaking. The martial arts aspects, the way that every fight felt so real. The character from the bowling arc, that assassin they hire, has that brutal fight with Matt in episode 3, where Matt gets him to say Wilson Fisk's name and then he kills himself because he doesn't want to be a target of Wilson Fisk. Daredevil's my favorite show of all time. It's not close. Nothing comes close. Not just superhero content. If you put all of the shows as equals to the movies and put them in a ranking, Daredevil is my favorite show or movie ever in Marvel. And season 1, I'm not going to say it's my favorite because I think this show continues to level up. But Daredevil as a whole is my favorite show of all time. The characters, the beautiful writing, the logical writing, the incredible fight choreography, the morality, the way Matt goes to church and the father. I never mentioned the priest that Matt goes and talks to for confession. Those dynamics throughout the season. Whenever Matt goes there, it is like Matt checking in with his moral compass. And he goes there wanting to find a reason to not kill Fisk so often. The story that the father tells about the holy man, when Matt asks the father if he believes in the devil, that's one of the best monologues I have ever seen. I have chills just thinking about it. As an actor, this show is like a masterclass. Just the stuff, the direction, the camera work is breathtaking. The underneath shot of Matt in confessional, the shot above Matt of his glasses and Karen in the reflection, the shots of Matt when he's using his heightened senses. This show is a masterpiece. Beyond the label of superhero, this show is a masterpiece of writing, of cinematography, of acting, of everything. I could keep going. I could talk for another 10 minutes. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Daredevil is my favorite show of all time, and season 1 is so damn good at establishing this world. And I can't believe it, but I really do think seasons 2 and 3 both might be better than season 1. And that might be a hot take, but we'll get there. I should have my season 2 review out in about a week from today, maybe a little longer. I'm gonna get my review up for the last recent episodes of Daredevil Born Again. So keep your eyes out for those. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below who's your favorite character in this show, because there are so many incredible characters to choose from. Thank you guys. The Goose is out.